protocol, may I now invite our Chief Executive Officer, John Kelpie, to read the summons, take attendance, and register any apologies.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, members. To all members of Derry City and Strabane District Council, you're hereby summoned to attend this monthly meeting of the Council, which will be hybrid, conducted remotely via WebEx and physically here in the Council Chamber, Wednesday, 28th of May at 2 o'clock. Alderman Cook.
Here.
Alderman Guy. Alderman Hussey.
Aye.
Alderman Carrigan. Alderman McMorris. Alderman Middleton.
Here, John.
Alderman Montgomery.
Here, John.
Alderman Wilkinson.
John.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor Lillian Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor Raymond Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor Boggs.
Shaw, John.
Councillor Boyle.
Here.
Councillor Clark.
And Shaw.
Councillor Cusick.
Here, John.
Councillor Deeney. Councillor Devine.
And Shaw here, Lena.
Councillor Donnelly.
Shaw.
Councillor Alex Duffy. Councillor Sandra Duffy. Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Fleming.
Shaw.
Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Harkin. Councillor Hart.
And Shaw. Here, Lena.
Councillor Heaney.
Shaw.
Councillor Hutton.
And Shaw.
Councillor Jackson. Councillor Leonard.
Shaw.
Councillor Logue.
Shaw.
Apologies received from Councillor McDade. Councillor Sandra Duffy. Thank you. Councillor McGinley. Councillor McGinley.
Shaw.
Councillor McHugh.
And Shaw, here, Lena, John.
Councillor Mooney. Councillor Murphy.
Shaw.
Councillor Norris.
Apologies, John.
Councillor O'Farrell.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor Riley. Councillor Tierney.
Here, John.
Councillor Anelis.
And Shaw.
Thank you. And Councillor Alex Duffy. Just
Shaw.
checking on Councillor Deeney. Councillor Harkin. And Councillor Jackson.
He's on his way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, members, the next agenda item is broadcasting statement. I would like to remind everyone physically present at this meeting or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeating viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. And a copy of the council privacy notice may be found on the council's website. Okay, members, moving on is declaration of members' interest. If anybody has any interest to declare, please feel free to use the chat online, and those here in the chamber, just put your hands up and we will register them. And you can do that as we move forward. Next one is chairperson's business. I do have a couple of chairperson's business, but before I bring everyone in, I just want to take a brief moment, this being my final full council meeting as mayor and chair of full council meeting, to share a few words. I do feel a little bit generous today, so I want to end in a positive note. So I'll do my best to accommodate everybody's request, but please do not take a hand. So no pop-up meetings, that consistency, no pop-up motions, that consistency remains. And I just want to make sure that we work together to finish the meeting before 6 o'clock if possible, so that we can all go and enjoy the sunshine. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to be mayor of Derry City and Strabane District and to work with my joint mayor. He has been very busy. I don't see him as a deputy. We've been very, very busy together and we've worked really well. So on reflection, it's been an amazing event, an amazing year, and we will say more on Monday together. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the council officers. I'll do that again on Monday, but I just feel that it is important that I do that today for their support. It has been immense throughout the year. And I'm really delighted to know what goes on behind the scenes sometimes, which most of the time we don't know it here in the chamber. So thank you so much for your support. And to all of you for being kind during meetings. We've had some hiccups. It's been a challenging year, but also a learning curve for me and hopefully for everyone here. So moving on, I want to invite the first person who contacted me for chairperson's business, and that was Councillor Houghton.
Thank you, Mayor. And this chairperson's business is a thank you to Kiltronic. So for nearly 25 years, Kiltronic has been more than just a festival. It's been the heartbeat of Derry's electronic music scene. And through Kiltronic's dedication, creativity, and unwavering commitment to both the global excellence and local talent, they've transformed our city into a vibrant hub of sound, culture, and community. Thank you for giving Derry a stage on the world map, for nurturing young artists, and for making dance music not just something that we listen to, but something that we love. Your legacy will echo in every beat, every venue, and every artist that you've inspired. So to the founders, Gareth Stewart and Tony Talbot, thank you for believing that Derry could be a world stage. You dreamed boldly, acted with heart, and brought to life an event that matched the creative energy of any European city. You didn't follow trends, you set them. You didn't chase profit, you chased passion. And for that, we are very, very thankful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Houghton. Okay, moving on is Alderman Julie Middleton.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. I have two pieces, but I'll be brief on both. So I wanted to firstly give a special mention to the brilliant Brady Cricket Club and the North West Cricket Union on the phenomenal work that they always do, but especially now in the coming weeks as they work towards hosting the T20 cricket series, where we will see the West Indies versus Ireland. This is a fantastic event planned for our whole district. It is inclusive, it's going to be family friendly, it's for everybody, regardless of your background, and will host thousands of spectators and will excitingly be televised to millions of people across the world. It'll be great to see the beautiful Faughan showcase as well as our district as a whole to those millions of people worldwide who will be watching. This is going to be a fantastic boost to our economy, and it's already great to hear of the many, many local beds that are booked up in hotels, as well as the opportunities for food vendors and businesses. So just wanted to give a wee shout out on that. And secondly, I am beyond excited with the announcement that the All-Ireland Pipe Band Championships is coming to Everton Square on the 5th of July. This is going to be a very special event and a major pipe band competition highlighting culture, heritage and musicality. We have such amazing pipe bands in our district, including Brady Ulster Scots Pipe Band, Tullintrain, Kildogue and Colmkill, to name but a few. I will be proudly cheering them on the 5th of July. And I look forward to a well-attended event, no doubt from people, not just from our city, our district, our region, but also I know that there's people coming from America and further afield. So what an amazing opportunity for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. I met some of them and the buzz is just incredible. I'm actually looking forward to it myself. Thank you for speaking about it today. Councillor Bog, you're next.
Good morning, Mayor, and I'll be very brief. Some members will be aware that the ambulance station facilities in Strabane are currently being modernised and getting much needed attention. And while that is ongoing, there are temporary measures in place. I believe that Castleberg is used as the base for the actual vehicles, and then Strabane Fire Station is used as a base for those ambulances to work out of. However, I and party colleagues, including Orla Begley MP, have received some concern in relation to the level of coverage for those temporary measures. And just with your indulgence on such a sensitive issue, Mayor, I would ask that as a council, we contact the NIAS and ask for their view on whether the temporary measures that they have put in place are good enough to make sure that there is a good enough spread of ambulance cover right across our city and district, and in Strabane, obviously, where the upgrade is happening. So I hope that won't be an issue, that we can send that letter off and ask for an urgent response if possible, to make sure that we can give people the confidence that cover is there. Thanks, Matt.
That should be okay, Councillor Rook. Thank you very much. The next person to contact me was Councillor Leonard.
I would like to mention the incredibly sad news that a lady called Bernadette Cranley from our neighbouring Lifford in County Donegal has died following a road traffic collision on the A5 between Omagh and Newton Stewart on Saturday past. And I'd like to send our condolences to Bernie's family and friends in this sad time. Regrettably, as a fire officer, I have attended dozens of serious RTCs, road traffic collisions on the A5 that have resulted in loss of life and life-changing injuries for those involved. I'm sure, like everyone in this chamber, I too am looking forward to a positive High Court decision so this A5 upgrade can finally go ahead. Putting it simply, Vara, this is morally the right thing to do.
Thank you, Councillor Leonard. I think it goes without saying that this council definitely is thinking about the family, and we'll send our thoughts and prayers to the whole family. And hopefully we'll be able to sort out the A5 very soon. The next person to contact me is Alderman Jose. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I had contacted you on an issue that I want to raise with regard to a football club, but before that, could I add my congratulations to those involved in the setting up of the commemoration of the U-boat surrender at Abington Square. I thought it was marvellous what was done. There is one area of disappointment that I do have to mention, and I believe it may have been an executive office decision that the band of the Royal Marines were not allowed to utilise the parade ground, the old parade ground at that particular event, although they were in, it was the Royal Marines Band Scotland. And perhaps council can query with the executive office why they were denied permission to actually parade. I'm not sure if that is the case, but if that can be clarified. Secondly, can I congratulate the organisers of the VEVJ Day celebration in Castlederg last Saturday. It was voluntarily done by the community, and I thought it was marvellous what they managed to achieve without any support from council or anyone else on what they achieved on a voluntary basis. All of those involved are to be congratulated. And the point that I did contact you about, Mayor, and thanks for your forbearance. In 1904, the Fermanagh and Western Football League started their Football League Division 1, the Mercer Cup. During that time, there have only been 4 winners of that competition from what is now the area represented by Derry City and Strabane District Council. All of them actually within what is now the Derg electoral area, our own Derg electoral area. The first winners were a team called Mornview in 1970. The next winners were a team called Victoria Bridge United in 1985, I believe. The competition was won 4 times by Dergview Football Club, who had emerged out of the old Mornview Football Club. But this year, after a gap of 25 years, the last time it was won by a team in our area was the year 2000 by Dergview before they went into the Intermediate League. But Kiln Rangers have achieved that particular pinnacle of sport in our area in winning Division 1 of the Fermanagh and Western League. They're the first team in 25 years from our council area to actually achieve that. And I would ask through the Mayor's office, whoever that may be, that recognition would be accorded to Kiln Rangers on what is a remarkable achievement. The first time they've won that in their 43 years of existence. So thank you for that opportunity, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Jose. I'm sure the next mayor will pick that up after the 2nd of June. The next person who contacted me is Councillor Sean Harkin.
Thank you for letting me in, Mayor. And I'm sure everyone has heard about the cut in funding to Greater Chantallo Community Arts that runs the Studio 2 Theatre. and it's a £65,000 cut that comes from good relations funding overseen by the Executive Office. And the Ollie Green and the people down at Greater Chantallo Community Arts are calling for that to be reversed and reinstated. And I think off the back of the closure of the Waterside Theatre and then the funding cut that we're dealing with in relation to Echo, which could be terminal for them, having another valued arts organisation in the city that has been acknowledged over and over again for the tremendous work that they do, have a cut visited upon them is very, very unfair. And I think that one of the things that the Studio 2 has been pointing out is that the Building Communities project or programme that this funding has been going to has been cut in the midst of a rise, an unfortunate rise in sectarian violence, particularly among young people in the city. So it's worrying that the Executive Office has praised the work that's been carried out by Greater Chantallo Community Arts for a number of years, particularly around this programme, and to see it cut is just bad news. It's bad news for the arts sector, it's bad news for jobs, and it's bad news in terms of people being able to access at the community level arts and culture. So I think as a council, I think we should join Studio 2 in calling for this to be reinstated. So if it's okay, Mayor, with you, I think we should write a letter to the Executive Office, appealing to the Executive Office to look at this and to reinstate this funding.
Absolutely. I think it is important we recognize the contribution of arts, not just in peace building, but actually contributing to our local economy, promoting our young people's talent, and above all, promoting our city as a city of culture and music. The immense contribution that Studio 2 has made in our city is valuable. And I concur with everything that you have said. I think we need to send that letter, and I second your proposal to do so. Thank you. Okay, moving forward is confirmation of the open minutes of the meeting of the Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Wednesday, 30th April 2025, pages 7 to 34 for accuracy. Members, this was a full council meeting. Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Thank you, Alderman Kirk. Any matters arising? Okay, Councillor Murphy.
Humor. C159/25. I'd just like to congratulate council officers on the recent news that our council has divested from financial institutions that are complicit in the ongoing genocide in Palestine. This is in line with council policy in supporting the BDS movement, and very welcome news to all who are horrified by the continuing slaughter and starvation being inflicted on the citizens of Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Harkin.
Yeah, I thank council officers for carrying out what we as a council have called the council to do for more than a decade. And we are now finally divesting from institutions, Barclays Bank and many others, who are complicit in supporting apartheid, complicit in supporting the occupation of Palestine, and complicit in genocide. And I want to commend the work of campaigners who have held our toes to the fire on this issue, because we have been very good and rightly on the front foot when it comes to passing motions in solidarity with Palestinians in supporting self-determination and condemning the genocide that Israel is carrying out, and condemning those states that are complicit with it and organisations. But it has been difficult to actually get traction on concrete action that punishes companies and that will ultimately punish the Israeli state for what it is doing. So it is very significant that we have now been able to divest, and I think it's in many ways because of the campaigners that have pushed the council along in this. So it is very welcome, as Councillor Murphy said, and I want to commend all those campaign organisations that have been tireless, calling for BDS, boycott, divestment and sanctions against the State of Israel to be enacted. And now I think that this is an opportunity for the council to go further, because we have an ethical procurement policy that we've passed with the support of the BDS founder, Omar Barghouti. And I think we have to, move rather than being complacent. I think we have to do more. And we also have calls as a council to support the boycott campaign of business, of products that are and brands that are complicit with genocide. So we have a lot of work to do. And when you look at what's happening, it can't get any worse in terms of, I think that people are dismayed that powerful states, including the British state and the American state, have continued to support this barbarism, and then that other states, like the Irish state, refuse to do more. And now we see a situation where instead of the people who are conducting a genocide being put on trial, we have members of NECAP being brought into court. We have we have elderly people, Jewish people who are in solidarity with Palestine in Belfast being arrested for trying to raise awareness about genocide. We have people here in Derry facing prosecution, including the MP for Foyle, Colm Eastwood, and members of the Irish Palestine Solidarity Campaign in Derry. And it's just disgraceful. The people who are protesting genocide are being brought into court, and those who are conducting it in front of the world are trying to hide their crimes. So I think it's very important that in this context our council's taken action, but I think we can do more. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Okay, any other matters arising? No? Okay, moving on. Adoption of the open minutes of the following committees. Monthly Governance and Strategic Planning Committee held on Tuesday, 6 May 2025, pages 35 to 54 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman Cook. Thank you, Councillor Haney.
Through you, Mayor, in relation to item 10725, members will recall at the committee that members had asked officers to hold a planning working group before full council so that this matter could be considered at the full council meeting. And just to confirm for members that actually took place yesterday on the 27th of May, and I know a number of members attended that. So just for members' information, if anyone wants to comment on the paper.
Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you, Mayor. And I attended that meeting yesterday, and it was the first one of its kind that I did. And as I've outlined before, the reason why I didn't attend them is because I had no confidence in them, and that was as a result of actions of council staff and elected members during various meetings. And having attended that meeting yesterday, it reinforced my position and my belief. The meeting was by and large boycotted by the most significant environmental group, that not only in the city but throughout the island, the Gathering. And in a lot of people's opinions, it was a box ticking exercise, and in my opinion, I feel the same. There's a lot of anger out there about comments that were made in this chamber regarding environmentalists who presented at this chamber, and the word fascist was used. So, you know, whilst in my opinion, the box ticking exercise took place, that there's still an awful lot of discontent within people outside this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Councillor Jackson.
Mayor, and I suppose I was quite shocked to see the communication that was received yesterday on behalf of the gathering. And I just want to point out there was, that's the first time I've seen communication from the gathering, who had raised concerns about comments made in this chamber. And in my view, misconstrued comments that were made in this chamber. And I just want to point out, it was about 3 months later that I first heard of these concerns. The work of the planning working group has been going on for years. So people that have decided they boycott it as a point of principle of a comment that was made 3 months ago. It just doesn't stack up. And they say that concerns haven't been, or box ticking exercise. I think that is a bit unfair, given the fact that this council has spent an absolute fortune carrying out independent reviews. The concerns that Councillor Donnelly, the previous speaker, had personally raised. So there has been quite extensive work that has went on by council. They examine concerns that have been raised by some of those who attended yesterday, and I think it has come at some significant expense to council and a significant expense to the ratepayers. But given the gravity of the concerns, we felt, and it was supported by the vast majority of people in this chamber, that we needed to explore it. We need the process to be transparent. But in relation to the fascist comment, and I stand over the comment that I made. There was two environmental activists attended a committee and gave a presentation. They made a suggested proposal. None of them are elected to council. Some of them have tried to be elected to council, but were unsuccessful. So they've come in and used that platform, and they have made a proposal. There was nobody that was democratically elected to council who decided that supported that proposal, but they were heard, they were listened to, and then it was raised at full council, and again there wasn't support for the proposal, and it was a member of this council who was raising and questioning the fact why members didn't support the proposal that was made, or the suggested proposal. And I just reminded people that if we're going to be in a situation where people are making demands of council and expecting other people they follow what they're dictating to us, that's fascism, and that there's nobody within this council chamber that would support that. So I made it very clear that I welcomed the contribution from the environmental activists. I at no stage called them fascists, and I never would, but I completely opposed to any form of fascism, any form of dictatorship, and I will proudly stand against those who are trying to impose their views on others, regardless of their democratic mandate or not. So I just wanted to clear that up, because there may be others that are using my comments out of context to perhaps give themselves another platform for an electoral process that may be coming up in the future. So, but here, if people want to abuse their positions within community organisations or environmental organisations for electoral and personal purposes, I can't help that. But I completely stand over the comments. I opposed the dictatorships and fascist activity. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Mooney? Councillor Mooney, and then Councillor Logue, and then Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the meeting yesterday as well, and I welcome the meeting because I second the proposal at GSP this month anyway. But really, just getting back on the point, Mayor, I listened intently to the two speakers yesterday. Those people who didn't come along, obviously that was their choice. They decided to boycott for their own reasons. I'm not making any judgment on that at all. That's a matter for them. But I think really what the question is now is that there's two recommendations at the end of that was out at GSP 5.1 and 5.2. I think this matter has been given an awful lot of consideration. There's been a lot of work put into it. I wouldn't necessarily share Councillor Donnelly's views on this process. I would take a different view to the contrary and that of our group. I think it's time now that we move on this process, and I would support and I'd endorse recommendation 5.1 and 5.2. Move this matter on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Mooney. Yes, members, we do have a recommendation that we need to propose and support, and it has been proposed by Councillor Mooney. So, Councillor Logue, would you like to talk about that, or?
No, just when I talk about the meeting.
Okay.
Yesterday, I also attended that meeting, and I think it is unfair to advise or someone's opinion that it's a tick boxing exercise. I've been on the planning committee along with many other members for many years, and we spend hours and hours looking over planning applications. And I just want to acknowledge, while there are concerns out there, I do feel council have listened, are listening, and while everything can be made better, I think council are on a journey to do that. But I want to acknowledge all the good work that all the planning department have done over the years, and the many planning applications that are approved or whatever, just the general work that goes on within the planning department. I just want to acknowledge that too as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Logue. Councillor Harkin?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, look, I attended the meeting yesterday as well, and I thank George McLaughlin from the campaign to Save Brehon Woods for coming in and giving his thoughts, and Dean Blackwood as well, representing the Faughan Anglers. And I would agree with much of what Councillor Donnelly opened up this discussion with. But I do want to respond to Councillor Jackson, because I actually think your comments are bizarre, really bizarre, and actually quite dangerous. And the reason why they're dangerous is because you're talking about fascism and who's fascist in a period when we actually have the growth of fascism around the world, where we have the American president, embracing actual fascist organizations, when we have Elon Musk giving a fascist salute at his inauguration, when we have people like Tommy Robinson trying to whip people up into a frenzy in Britain, targeting minorities. Tommy Robinson, who's an actual fascist, and when we have fascists in the north and south of Ireland trying to whip people up into a frenzy against minorities, the LGBTQ community, I just think it's wrong-headed to be talking about environmental and climate justice campaigners and associating them with fascism at all, full stop, which is what you're doing. And that's what the problem was with the last discussion. Now, what you're saying is that organisations that without a mandate, which is the vast majority of organisations and campaigners and community groups, they don't have an elected mandate, but they have every right to come to this council to make a case, to appeal, to organise protests and rallies and occupations and sit-ins, to demand that government and local government do certain things. And for years, women came to this chamber calling for the right to choose. They didn't have a mandate. Were they ever called fascist? We have Irish language campaigners demanding equality for the Irish language. Are they fascists when they come to chambers and organise protests? And that's why these comments are nonsense and wrong-headed and upside down. They were the wrong way to describe your disagreement with environmental justice campaigners who should be afforded a platform in this council to actually come in and speak their mind. From my point of view, trade unions come in here. We have all sorts of organisations come in here to make demands in this council. They're not fascist if we disagree with them. And associating progressive campaigners with fascism and dictatorship is nonsense. How do you justify that? It doesn't make any sense.
Thank you.
It was the wrong way to describe a disagreement that you had with campaigners that came in. And I think you should just accept that rather than digging a deeper and deeper hole here.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. I'm going to bring in Alderman Corrigan.
I'm just content to second the proposal put forward by Councillor Mooney and try and move this on and go to a vote if required, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Corrigan. I was looking for a second, so thank you so much for that. Alderman McMorris?
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in, and I would have seconded it as well. I was also at the meeting yesterday, and I came to the meeting with an open mind. I really enjoyed listening to George and how passionate he was about Prahran Woods, and also I listened to Dean. And I have to say, you know, I'm not on planning that long, really, in the grand scheme of things. But we've had independent reviews. We've had this discussion over and over and over again. And I just think that, you know, we have a responsibility to the planning staff in regards to their health and well-being. And we know the difficulties that they have had in regards to this issue. And I'm really welcome to hear that the recommendation of 5.1 and 5.2 has been put forward. So, and I really do think, you know, at some stage we need to put this to bed. We need to support our employees. I have never found anything other than transparency from the planning committee and the planners themselves. So I just really feel strongly that, you know, in order to put this to bed and restore confidence within the planning system and the people in the planning department, I think that we need to address this issue now once and for all and put all of them demons to bed and move on. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Councillor Jackson, I'm panicking bringing you in, but I would like to.
I just wanted to come on the back of some of the comments that were made around, and I know that, but there was an outburst there, and I just wanted to come on to make it categorically clear. Those environmental activists that attended this committee, I 100% support them and what they do, and I am not in any way suggesting that they are fascist in any way. And if you listen to my comments back in relation to, it's not their behaviour that I was describing as fascist, and that's and I would like Councillor Harkin just to pay a wee bit of attention. The comments.
Whose comments are you describing as fascist? Go ahead, explain whose comments.
Please.
He needs to explain who's he calling a fascist. Please, go ahead.
See the fake outrage from Councillor Harkin that's trying to create a platform for himself and his party colleagues. I can't control that, but I will not allow Councillor Harkin to dictate what I can and can't say in this chamber, or what I can and can't support in this chamber.
Members, I did make an appeal when we started. Make my life easier today. It's my last. Please make it easier for me. I think one of the most important discussion we are having today is the recommendations that have been proposed and seconded. And I just want to ask from the floor, are we all content to move forward? Thank you, members. Councillor Harkin.
Look, I would like Councillor Jackson to clarify. You says it's not the environmental campaigners that are fascist. So who's the fascist then? Why are you even talking about fascism at a time when we have the rise of fascism around the world, right? who are beating up migrants on the streets, right? Who are targeting marriage equality events in Dublin and getting them moved from places that they're having, when they're targeting bars like Patter Brown's and saying, we're going to shut this place down, when actual fascists are doing that, who are you calling a fascist in the chamber? Who are you calling? And what are you talking about?
Put it to a vote.
Councillor Harkin, we need to move. We need to move forward. Are you happy? Councillor Harkin, I really want us to move forward. And Councillor Jackson and Councillor Harkin, can I request you talk outside this chamber on that issue?
Mayor, I think it's a very important.
Yeah,
If it's not,
it is important, but I think
is who has been equated to fascists, and I think it's important to clear that up before. It's not a difficult thing to ask, and it shouldn't be a difficult thing to answer, but who is being equated to fascists?
Chair, Mayor, because see, to be fair, it's very hard to get a word on with the amount of shouting that's going on in this chamber. And when I was trying to make, and apologies if I didn't make it clear, I wasn't calling anybody a fascist. I was making it very clear that making demands of people that support something that they don't, that nobody in the chamber that was democratically elected to support as fascist. And I followed that up by saying that there is absolutely nobody in this chamber who would support fascistic behaviour. So it's the word was deliberately emotive but there are some that have jumped on that and said that I'm calling them a fascist. I made it very clear, and I made it clear today again that I'm not calling anybody a fascist. And I will happily dedicate my entire life to fighting fascism and challenging anybody with fascist views. But I can understand the passion, but there are. I would be. I just have my own suspicions that that my comments were deliberately misinterpreted and taken completely out of context. And if anybody listens back to the comments that were made at the committee, or listens back to the comments that I made earlier in this, I made it very clear that there was very little support for fascism within this chamber, and I made it very clear that I was not attacking those environmental activists, and if I welcome the opportunities for them to come and present them from the committee again. So
thank you, Councillor Jackson. I'm going to move this forward, and just maybe members, let's just be conscious of the language we use. I have learned the hard way myself, so I hope everybody learns. There's some terminologies that are too emotive. We just need to be careful when we move forward. So again, everyone is content to adopt the recommendations, just to make sure that everybody is happy with that. Okay, thank you, members. Moving on, it's monthly plan.
Mayor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have a matter arising.
Matters
governance, yep.
Or from the same
Okay. Committee, yep.
Go ahead.
So it's GSP 102/25, and it was the BT announcement. And I do welcome some of the meetings that we have had, although it's been really disappointing. And the last one was, I think, a fortnight ago, where we met with the unions. And even at that meeting, it was really disappointing how the unions had been engaging, or how BT had been engaging with the unions rather, and the response that they were receiving in terms of some of the suggestions that they were putting forward around trying to save the jobs that are going at BT. But it's on a similar vein, and it's in relation to Learning Pool here in the city. Learning Pool are a global organisation, and they're here in the city and provide employment, really good employment to quite a number of people. Unfortunately, a number of weeks ago, we did hear that they were engaging in a redundancy programme. There wasn't too much talk about it, but I have since been contacted by quite a number of employees who have been affected. And I have to say, I have always believed that Learning Pool was a really good organisation within the city and provided really good jobs. Unfortunately, some of the stuff that I'm being told by employees is in relation to how this process was announced, how it has been conducted, and how they have been engaging with some of the staff that have been involved. And I know the process of redundancy is a global process that they have embarked on, but it's in relation to the people of this council area who are affected. So what they have asked of me is that we as a council engage with Learning Pool on the same basis that we engage with BT regarding their redundancy process, just to try and clear up or get clarity on some of the issues that they feel that they're struggling with. And I think that if I can make that a proposal today, Mayor, that we set up a meeting with Learning Pool just to discuss the redundancy process that they're going through at the minute, to try and support some of the staff that are going through that and get answers and clarity to some of the concerns that they have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. That's all right. So, is everybody content? I can second that. Is everyone content? Yeah, happy? Thank you, members. Any other matters arising? Okay, moving on to B, Monthly Planning Committee held on Wednesday, 7th May 2025, pages 55 to 66 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman McMontory. Anyone else? Thank you, Councillor Fleming. Any matters arising? Councillor Harkin?
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. It's in regard to P72/25 HMO policy. As members will know, there was a presentation made to the Planning Committee in response to the deputation that was made here by the concerned residents around McGee. And as people will know, that they're Crammer here today, and they've delivered a leaflet in everybody's in front of everyone there with a series of questions that they're asking of council. And at the Planning Committee meeting, the council officers assured that they would give a robust response to the questions that were raised by Cram. And my understanding is that maybe those questions weren't fully answered, and that's why we have a series now of 8 or 9 questions that is before us. So I'm not assuming that planning officers will have the time right now to answer all of these questions, but if there's any of them there that you've been able to look at, I assume you got that as well. I think people would appreciate a response. And then there is something more generally to say about the local development plan and its imminent implementation, because the report back from to the Planning Committee from officers made it clear that it would be possible to revise parts of the local development plan, but that it could delay by a number of years the implementation of the full development or the full LDP. And that meant that for most members, from my understanding, would be very reluctant to do that. But there are serious issues here to be addressed. One is what Cram activists or members are saying is that there is inconsistencies in the information that we as a council are using for our LDP. And somebody needs to look at that and actually answer, is there information that could have been presented better, and that what implications will that have? So that's one question. I think that's very, very important for us to address as a council. And the second one is whether or not the LDP goes through, right? The issue of the 10% cap, I think the voices of residents has been heard very loud and clear in this council, where we have most councillors saying that they support the 10% cap. It's also been made clear to Ulster University, who have said that they want to be a good member of the community. It's also made very clear to the task force. And that's been well represented by CRAM and others that support the 10% cap. And the 10% cap is there to basically protect communities and residential areas. So I think the key thing is we have to ensure and we have to make it very clear to residents, no matter what happens here, that the 10% cap is going to be the guiding policy of the council. And the other thing that I think we have to make very, very clear is that, and I've read through the documents, and they all say that you can't have a HMO management zone without a consultation. It has to be consulted on. So we can't, as a council, just say this is going to be a HMO zone, or the Ulster University can't decide. That can only be decided in consultation with residents and stakeholders in those areas. And those areas have to be properly defined, as in what areas are we talking about. So the HMO management areas, which would be 30%, can't come in over the heads of local residents who are raising all sorts of concerns about what that will mean for particular streets, particular areas, but for the entire area overall. So I think it's very important that we speak as a council about the issue of consent around moving forward, meaning that the 30% cannot be imposed on areas. It has to be done with consent, and we have to make sure that that the planning committee and the policy that we have in place doesn't impose something before residents have had an opportunity to actually decide to be consulted. And that's the issue I think that we have to be very clear cut on as a council, that we can't accidentally create 30% areas and then say to people after the fact, this has happened, therefore we're going to consult you now on whether or not you want this. So we have to answer that, and we have to have a plan for that, because I think what people want is reassurance that they've brought their case to the council. They've met with they've met with all the parties, they've met with MLAs, they've met with the MP. We hear talk in Stormont about a gold rush in Rosemount for developers. So I think that we have to, as a council, provide real assurances that what we are agreeing to is actually that there's confidence that that's what's going to happen. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. The report coming through the planning came through the day after the short discussion in governance and strategic planning. And I had asked the question, what can we do in the short term? Because the last thing people want is this time next year, we're still talking about this. And the for sale signs are up on houses and they've been bought because you're still operating under an old policy. The question I have is how, words not action, or action not words. When will residents who have concerns be able to rest assured that their concerns are being addressed and have been addressed? Is that going to be next week? It's going to be next month? It's going to be 2 months' time with the recess coming up? When will that actually happen? I've been told to actually, if we were to ask the minister for a derogation or whatever, that would put the whole process back into the mix again and cause issues. But if we can get our LDP through and get this sorted out, even though it hasn't completed, the minister hasn't given approval and all of that, we can still work on the basis of this is what we have within our LDP. Therefore, if we have to take cognizance of it. So, basic question: when does that become operative? Thank you, Chair.
I don't think it's appropriate to respond to some of the detailed questions today. I mean, there are a couple of things in the pipeline. As I understand it, I just heard before the meeting, I think there is now a meeting in the diary with CRAM on Monday. Would that be correct, Karen? Yeah. And there is the further opportunity to pick up on that through the planning committee paper that's going into the June round of meetings of next week as well. So I think most of those issues are dealt with in that paper and can be further explored in the meeting on Monday. With regard to the first comment by Councillor Harkin, if there are questions in this leaflet that's been distributed today that haven't already been answered, or we haven't fully answered them previously, we will of course take that on board today as well. So 3 things I would suggest we can do as officers from today. 1, check to see that we have answered the questions, and if we haven't, we'll answer them more fully. 2, hold the meeting on Monday, which I hope we can convey all the detail that we are aware of in terms of process and how it moves forward. And 3, the planning committee next Wednesday, where there's a further paper for consideration by members. Is there anything you want to add, Karen, to that?
Thank you, John. Members content with that? I think so. Okay. Moving on, members, any other matters arising on planning? Okay, moving on to C, monthly business and culture committee held on Tuesday, 13th May 2025, pages 67 to 84 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Houghton. Any matters arising? Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Mayor, and it's relating to BC 88/2025. It was the discussion about the drastic funding cut to Echo that we discussed at Business and Culture. Every penny of their funding is being removed, and if it's not reinstated, the organisation is going to close its doors forever. They met the 4 funding criteria, but the Arts Council had concerns about artistic programming and the viability of the organisation. It should be noted that they had 32 previous consecutive successful funding applications and no concerns were raised whatsoever. At the committee, we agreed to write to the Arts Council and the Minister for Communities to express our disappointment, to invite them to an urgent meeting to discuss this. But it's the considered view of members of the Arts and Culture Co-Delivery Group and councillors that the Arts Council does not work for the city and district. Last year, although Belfast City Council is only 17% of the population, they get over 82% of the funding. And that's where their priority lies. And while we continue to challenge the Arts Council, Minister for Communities, we do need to look at alternative funding streams. So this was discussed this week. There was unanimous agreement at a meeting to discuss the future of Echo. I have sent a brief amendment to Teresa, and I'd appreciate a seconder. So it's basically that we write to the Taoiseach to explore discussions around arts funding from the Irish government. We know we've got shared island initiatives. We know there's the Creative Island programme. We're in the Northwest City region. It's an important region, the island of Ireland. We feel there should be support from the Dublin government because to enhance cross-border cooperation, collaboration, that's something that Dublin should fund or consider funding because we're not getting a fair deal from Belfast, and Dublin has invested quite a bit in the Northwest. And so we'd be open to discussions with decision makers in Dublin to see what they can do to support our arts scene to make it more thriving and more sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farrell. That proposal has been seconded by Councillor Tierney. Are members content with that? Go ahead, Councillor Eunice.
Just, I was very sorry to miss that meeting yesterday. It's something that's very close to my heart, arts and culture, and the benefits of it, completely through education, health, and every element of arts and culture is extremely important to our society. So I was very sorry to miss it, but I'm happy on behalf of Sinn Féin to support that.
Thank you. Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Farrell, for bringing the proposal. Look, the meeting yesterday that we had at Echo was, the people there are devastated, and what we've seen over the last couple of weeks since this announcement came through is really an outpouring of solidarity for Echo, which is really amazing. They reported that they have somewhere in the region of 150 letters in support of them already, from elected representatives, from organisations, from people in the culture and arts sector, from parents, from children who have used the theatre or who have either went to lessons there or performed there or who went as part of an audience. This is an organisation that we really can't afford to lose, but that's what's being taken away from us right now. So I think that what this motion does is, look, we should be using every possible mechanism to make the Arts Council rethink this, to encourage the Department for Communities who have oversee the arts budget to intervene in this. And if this is successful, a successful appeal to the Irish government to support arts organisations in our district area, we have to welcome that. But so I think, look, we've had a whole series of cuts here recently that are really sending the wrong message to the people in this city and district. And I think we have to push back as hard as we can in whatever way we can. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman McMorris.
Thank you, Mayor. And just on behalf of the DUP grouping, we'd also like to put our support behind the proposal. As a member of the board of the Millennium Forum, we see firsthand the benefits that arts and culture have. And as Grace said, it's rippled right through your whole society in regards to it. So, yep, we'll be supporting the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor. And whilst I understand the direction of the motion, I do have concerns. If this was a motion seeking support for the individual project, which has brought this to the fore, fair enough. But there will be arts and cultural organisations within our local area who would not, be interested in being under the control of the Arts Council of Ireland. So the broad brush approach of this concerns me. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Farrell, do you want to respond to that?
It doesn't mention control there at all, Alderman Hussey. It says responsibility. I would view that as joint responsibility, that the Arts Council in the North and the Arts Council in the Republic can fund worthy organisations across this city and district. But if certain organisations don't want to avail of that opportunity, it's up to them.
Okay. Councillor Gallagher.
And Mayor, I would just say to you, look, see, currently there are many organisations across the board that receive funding from the Irish government. Thank you.
Councillor Boggs.
Just very briefly, Mayor, it's an interesting conversation this week in the Assembly. Members will be aware that there was a motion debated in relation to rebalancing the contribution of North-South bodies in relation to the Irish government giving more funding without the requirement of the executive to increase their funding. And it was interesting that some parties couldn't support that call, but support a call for the Arts Council of Ireland to help deliver the arts in this area, which would be absolutely fantastic. But it's just interesting, and just the word control that keeps being used there's absolutely no such thing. I don't think anybody in this chamber is in the position to turn down funding wherever it comes from, whether that be the Dublin government or not.
Thank you, members. I think, members, it's clear we can have some disagreements, but for me, I think we need to move forward on the main issue. And the main issue is these funding cuts. And we may have a government that will be willing to support our local economy, our local groups, our local people. We should be supportive of all of them. Regardless of where the money is coming, it's ethical to start with, but regardless of which government is going to support, we have people who are crying out for help. We know this city thrives when we work together, but most importantly, we are being contacted by people within our community who are struggling, not just with bills, but also within their own talent and the passion that they have. So let's just support them. That's all I am asking. So let's not politicize this. It's so important that we really support our communities. So can I just ask, is there anyone who is discontent with the proposal and want us to go for a vote?
Wish to propose an amendment.
You support the amendment? What's the amendment?
Proposing
Proposing the amendment. Okay.
That the last line read, from our local arts sector, lost my word in the maybe from a local arts centre, receiving assistance from the Arts Council.
At council? Right.
That read okay?
You wouldn't say, please. Do you want to take out
responsibility? Take out responsibility and put in receiving assistance from it.
Receiving, coming out on.
Sure.
Okay, members, well, let's get back to this now. I'm going to bring Philip in just to give us some directions here. No need? Okay, so we just go ahead with the amendment.
We're going to now take
Derek Source's amendment, okay. Okay, members, can I get a seconder? Okay, thank you. Members, is everybody content with that proposal and the amendment? Yep. Okay. Anyone going to vote against it? Okay, so we're gonna move forward. I think everybody is happy with it. Thank you, members. Any other matters arising on business and culture? Okay, moving on to monthly environment and regeneration committee held on Wednesday, 14th May, 2025, pages 85 to 96 for accuracy. Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you, Councillor Fleming. Any matters arising? Thank you. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, just members, just to bring to your attention that in item ER 10725, that was deferred to today for consideration. So for members' information.
Alderman Guy? Do you want to deal with that first? Yeah, can we, Councillor Heaney?
Mayor, no, it's just on that item that was deferred. I'm not a member of ENR, but it is on my DEA. And I have met and discussed with council officers about the relocation of the proposed bus shelter, and we'll continue doing that. So content enough on behalf of our party to agree the paper as is.
Okay. Any other contribution? Councillor Gallagher?
matters arising. ER 113, consultation responses on mineral prospecting licenses. Mayor, could I firstly say that I'd like to congratulate the officers that compiled the response to the consultation. I found looking through it that it was very robust and that it very much covered many of the issues that has been discussed in this chamber for many years. So I congratulate them on that. Mayor, following that, what disappoints me is the department's response to our consultation. And Mayor, on the back of it, I'd like to bring a proposal that I've sent to Teresa. Mayor, in our response, we've highlighted to the department, the significant and the potential for the significant environmental damage that the grantee's license has the potential to do. We have said, that the applications are inadequate and are unsatisfactory. That's our responses. what we're saying is the granting of these licenses is salami-slicing. It is unlawful. And we're saying they can't be justified. We have had a long protracted case legally. And on the back of that, all of it has been dismissed. And I think it's our duty as a council to protect our citizens, to reenact the processes that we have previously taken in order to protect our citizens. Therefore, I asked the Chamber to support this proposal. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Seconder? Councillor Harkin? Did you want to speak about it too? Okay, go ahead.
Mayor, thank you, Councillor Gallagher, for bringing this because I think it's very important. Look, there was mining licenses issued by the Economy Minister, by the Department for the Economy. And this is happening in a context where 99% of the public responses to a consultation about mining licenses were objections. We've just had a discussion about people demanding things that they don't have a right to demand. Overwhelmingly, people oppose corporations getting mining rights to rip up our environment. We've had a big campaign and fight around what Dalradian is doing in the Sperrins. Our council intervened in this, did the right thing, but there's no stopping this government who want to continue to dish out mineral licenses, even when 99% of thousands of public consultation responses object to it. I just think people are absolutely dismayed that this is happening. So I agree with Councillor Gallagher. I think we have to have a robust challenge that represents what appears to be the majority decision, the majority opinion. Otherwise, why bother hold any consultations? A consultation that comes back and rejects what government is doing and then you just push on with it. It's the reason why people are so sceptical and distrusting of consultations and sometimes describe them as box ticking exercises. What it looks like to people is that rich people, big corporations are pulling strings and dictating to government what is going to happen. So I think the Economy Minister made a disgraceful decision by granting these licenses. I think that we have to represent public opinion and do whatever we can as a council to push back, and hopefully the department will come to its senses and realise that it needs to reverse these decisions.
Thank you, Councillor Harkin. Alderman Jose.
Mayor, I know that you did say you would be fairly lenient with regard to public motions. This is quite a complex issue, and I wonder, is it suitable for this discussion without proper consideration, without the backup of, what costs are we talking to ratepayers, etc.? I'm just concerned about, I know you did say you'd be lenient, but it's quite a complex motion, in my opinion.
Okay, members, Councillor Jackson.
On a similar note, the ask of council is, I know the last time when we led a judicial review, there was significant papers, information provided to members before we took a decision. I find it strange that we're being asked to take a decision on this, if we are asked to take a decision on this without the relevant information. But I don't know, because I suppose there's inaccuracies, there's things that I would challenge within that motion in relation to the recent decisions. But I do feel that having a paper or having proper time and consideration to everybody else in the chamber would be more appropriate before we were asked to vote on this. So I don't know if this is actually on the table or if it's not on the table. And I'm hoping you can clear that up for us.
Yeah. The proposal is on the floor because it has been proposed and seconded, so we can have this conversation. Yeah, Councillor Gallagher?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, you see, everything that I've previously said in supporting this proposal was in the consultation that this council submitted. We have all had the information contained in that consultation response prepared by our officers that has arisen out of our previous judicial review. I have said nothing new. What's in that consultation is the potential for significant environmental harm, that it's unlawful, that the grant of these licenses is unsatisfactory. That's what's in our consultation that we submitted, that everyone in this chamber has received that information previously. Two submissions that we have submitted, every councillor in this chamber has received it. And it contains, in that document, it contains the damage, the unlawfulness that's contained within the grant of these licenses. We've done it. We've taken it to court. We have won. And the justice says it was unlawful. And we have looked, and our legal stance has looked at the response from the department and says, you're still acting unlawfully. That's what we've said in our consultation. So I'm not saying nothing new. There's nothing new being brought to the table here. Absolutely nothing. And on the back of that, we must defend our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallagher. Alderman Middleton?
Thank you, Mayor, for letting me in. Just on behalf of the DUP, when a motion is brought forward to council, we meet as a group and we discuss and we think about our opinions, how it reflects our party, how it reflects our voters, but most importantly, something like this, we would think about the financial impact in terms of rates to our ratepayers. Some of our ratepayers are struggling hugely, so we are not in a position without a paper in front of us or perhaps even a motion to make a decision today, and therefore whilst we potentially may be supportive in the future, maybe not, we're not going to make a decision today. I could name you a long list of people who are struggling with rates and other bills, and to make some decision that may lead to judicial review and therefore impact our ratepayers is just not okay with us right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Middleton. Councillor Mooney?
Thank you, Chair. And in light with all our comments, I think I just had I remember actually going through that judgment there from October from Madam Justice McBride in relation to this matter, and there's 184 paragraphs in it. It was quite an extensive judgment. That was delivered in October, about 6 or 7 months ago. I'm not sure, in my mind, if given that judgment, that allowed the department to rectify any perceived mistakes that they had. So, in my mind, what I would look to have for is probably a paper from the city solicitor to address the merits of a new judicial review. I think that's probably important for all members to have a look at that, because obviously with the expense involved in judicial reviews and ratepayers' money, there are issues there that I would probably like to be addressed, because obviously the judgment from 6 months ago was 6 months ago. There are 7 licenses that have been, that have been permitted by the department now. I don't know what grounds they're on, because there are actually new licenses that have been permitted. So in my mind, before I would sanction anything, I would like to see what the actual merits of a further application would be. I'm not in any way cancelling out or ruling out Councillor Gallagher's proposal, but I'd like to see more information before I would go ahead with it or sanction any sort of proposal. So I think what I'm saying is I'd like to see a paper with a bit more detail to actually determine the merits and probably the costs that will be incurred for council in this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cusack and then Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, and I totally agree with Councillor Gallagher. This is absolutely appalling. It's disgusting, despicable. our environment is being raped, basically, by people in it for profit. And it's not a, Councillor Middleton, it's not a pop-up motion, it's derived from the actual minutes. So I think it's very valid to bring it up right now. As Councillor Gallagher has said, we've had all this information, and anybody who's, more versed in environmental matters could tell us all that, we're worried about our rates, we're worried about, money, we're worried about this. How detrimental is this to our children's futures, to our wildlife's future, to, everything that we say in this council that we believe in and we want to protect and we love and respect. The only thing I would question, and I would wonder if the city solicitor would even be able to, briefly comment on it, will there be an additional cost at this stage, and would this be time bound as well? I agree with Councillor Mooney. Yes, we need to see the economics of it, the figures, the finance. But again, that should not put us off fighting this issue again. Thank you.
Councillor Gallagher and then Alderman Middleton.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, previously we have taken a judicial review and there was a potential that if we lost, there would be a large amount of money. But this proposal that's on the floor is not asking to take a judicial review. What it is asking, no, sorry. We legally, we cannot take a judicial review. We can't. What it says in that motion, what it says, if you look, that this council enacts processes, and you have to follow processes before you get to a judicial review. So we have a number of processes to take. We have to formulate our argument. We have to, there's the potential, you go to a lower court, you have to be awarded a judicial review. So you can't take a judicial review. And that's not what this is asking. This is asking to enact processes that will lead to, yes, that will lead to. But there's a number of things that can come in and has to be going through. And some of that is presenting a further paper to this council before we proceed. And there will be whatever it is that cost, like any other motion that goes through this chamber. You pass the motion, and then a forward paper comes and says it's A, B, C, and D, and then we proceed. And what's contained in this is the corporate position of this council. What's contained in this motion, and it's also contained within a legal judgment by Justice McBride. And we have reiterated that in our consultation. So what this is get further processes in place, and we'll take them one at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Alderman Middleton.
So Mayor, just briefly, I think it's really important when we're quoting one another that we actually quote each other properly. I did not say that this is a pop-up motion. I in fact said when it was brought forward as a motion, we would be more than happy to look at it.
Thank you. Councillor Cheney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm happy to say that it's a pop-up motion because that's exactly what it is. And when Councillor Mooney spoke on this, my view was that I would like to see more information from officers. Then when Councillor Gallagher spoke for the second time, he confirmed that that is the right approach to be taken, because he's now talking about council enacting processes that will lead to further judicial reviews. No one here knows what those processes are. No one knows how much they're going to cost. No one knows how long they're going to take. No one knows anything about them at this stage. So therefore, we need more information. The purpose and the process for proposing a notice of motion is there, and it's very clear, to allow people time to do their research, to speak to officers in advance of council meetings, and to work out what their position is. Having a proposal, a pop-up motion of this magnitude bunched on a meeting like this, in my belief, is out of order and should be refused by yourself, Madam Mayor, until the next council meeting, to allow people an appropriate time to do their research and make sure that they are coming here in an informed position to vote on something which has such a massive impact on everything across the city and district. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McGinley?
Just on the pop-up issue, Mayor.
Need to
Just on the
bring
pop-up
Councillor
issue.
McGinley.
Chair,
It's acceptable.
Mayor, Councillor Gallagher has spoken multiple times at this point. I think we need to hear from other people.
Yeah, I need to bring Councillor McGinley in.
Mayor, and it's just in response to some of the comments that Councillor Gallagher said in his previous contribution, that this council enacts processes that will lead to a further judicial review, but you also said that we were not going to have a judicial review. You can't predetermine the outcome of a process, which is what you're doing in this proposal. So I don't think we can support that. We would need a paper coming forward that gives those processes, outlines what they are and how we move through them before any decision can be taken on that.
Okay, members, we've had a substantive conversation about this issue.
Clarification, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
If the motion is now voted on, if it is now voted on and is not successful, this can't appear for a further 6 months. Is that correct? So, I mean, I would mention that to the proposer.
Philip, can you respond to that first?
I know Alderman Hussey's
Yeah.
asked for clarification around what happens if that's voted down.
Yeah.
But can we get clarification on whether or not you're going to accept that? Because it's a pop-up motion and the councillor.
It is on the floor. It's on
You've
the floor.
accepted that?
I have, because I have accepted a seconder, unfortunately. So it's on the floor. So it's either it's amended or we vote on it.
Or Councillor Gallagher could withdraw
And defer. So we do have three options. Option one, we vote on it. Option two, Councillor Gallagher withdraw. Option three, amend to bring a paper forward before we make a decision.
Mayor, it's on the floor. I wish it to stay on the floor. And the reason I wish it to stay on the floor, what's in that motion is our current council's corporate position. And if anyone takes the time to read the consultation response, if anyone, you've already had the response.
Councillor Gallagher,
Right.
no,
I'm getting badgered here from the side.
No, I'm left with one option. We either
But
vote.
every councillor in this chamber has seen, or should have seen, or should have read the consultation response. That's what's contained.
Councillor Gallagher, that point has been rehearsed a lot. So the point is now we move forward with voting for this motion. I want to give you an opportunity here to either amend it so that we can have a paper brought forward, because it's likely it's going to be voted down. So the position is maybe bring a paper if you want to amend it, and then we can have a paper that will elaborate your processes that you want to see put in place.
Mayor, I'll just respond to that, and I'll give a quote that I've given before, and hope you excuse my language, but there's people on here riding 2 horses with 1 horse. And that's what they're doing.
Okay, so.
Could I ask why Councillor Gallagher didn't bring this prior to the meeting so that people were aware that this was coming up and could have the detail and the implications and get proper legal advice for it? Or is this just a stunt from Councillor Gallagher?
Right, members, I think we now need to move forward. Can we just
I ask for a break before we go to a vote? Can I ask for a break so that we at least have a little bit of time to consider what we're doing?
Okay.
Because this, about 5 or 10 minutes might be useful.
Okay, Councillor Cheney, Alderman Guy.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we all need to use a bit of common sense in this here. Nobody is saying it's wrong what's up there, but it is a pop-up motion no matter what way you look at it, right? Something like this needs further consideration by all members in this chamber. Simply withdraw it, ask for a paper to be brought to the relevant committee, and then, if we need be, go back and bring a motion back to actually propose it. But you see, if it were voting in this now, it's going to be voted down no matter what, and it's lost. So, it's not about just withdraw it, do the sensible thing, and we move on, and then we take it into a committee. And that's the best thing. Yeah, man. So.
Right, can we have a 10 minutes break? 10 minutes is over, yeah?
Oh, no, definitely.
Yeah. Right, members, back to the room, please. Picking up from where we were, then we need the proposal to go back to the screen. So members, there's been a very slight amendment to that proposal. And I just want to see if members are content with it, or should we still go for a vote? So there'll be no more discussions, just either a vote, or if people are content with it, we move forward. Can I ask one more last time? Are members content we move forward or we go to the vote? Happy to call for a vote? Happy with the way it is? Okay, thank you very much, members. That's passed. Moving on. Any other matters arising? None. Okay. Okay, don't take us back. Moving on. Thank you. Matters arising?
Yeah, it's under ER 112/25 flooding update. Obviously, we often discuss flooding issues here within the chamber and the devastation it leaves on affected communities. But we don't really know what it is like to actually live with the reality of flooding and the impacts of climate change on a daily basis, with constant fear every time there's a prolonged heavy deluge of rain. As Deputy Mayor, I attended the launch of In at Midnight and Away by the Morning, the uninvited guest in the Alley Theatre, which is a powerful sound and light installation that reflects lived experiences of flood-affected communities in Eglinton and Newton Stewart, overseen by the artist Sarah Walmsley as part of the Blueprint project. I think it would be worthwhile inviting representatives of the two communities to present to Council, maybe even at a special meeting to allow members to experience what flood-affected residents are experiencing during and after the flood has gone. So, Karen, if you could perhaps confide with Kathy Burns to maybe see how you would go about that for a presentation in Council.
Thank you, Alderman Guy. Councillor Riley?
Just agreed wholeheartedly with Alderman Guy's comments and happy to second that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Riley. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, members. Any other matters arising? Okay, moving on. Monthly Health and Community Committee held on Thursday, 15th May 2025, pages 97 to 112 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman McMorris. Thank you, Alderman Montgomery. Any matters arising? No. Well done, members. Let's move on like that. Bi-monthly Assurance, Audit and Risk Committee held on Monday, 19th May 2025, pages 113 to 116 for accuracy. Thank you, Alderman Carrigan. Thank you, Councillor Murphy. For any matters arising? This is always a good one. Move on. Okay, proposal for confidential. Thank you, Councillor Borg and Alderman Cook.